Hi, Assalamu alaikum. In this video, we will understand about the muscarinic receptor. The five type of the muscarinic receptor is discovered M1 to 5, and these muscarinic receptor are present in the different type of the cell in the different tissue, and the muscarinic receptor receive the neurotransmitter acetylcholine, bind with the receptor to activate their genes or other muscle contraction like, and the DNA will activate to produce transcription to translation of the protein. That protein is the required protein. Like the central nervous system contain muscarinic receptor 1, 3, 4 and 5, but 2 is absent. This is the peripheral nervous system and central nervous system is involved. Remember that things. This is the person content digestive system and the circulatory system. So salivary gland are present and the saliva produced through muscarinic 1 and 3 receptor activation, while the heart beat change through 3 and 2 receptor. While the gastrointestinal tract contain the basically the muscarinic receptor 1 as well as 3 in the smooth muscle for contraction, and enteric nervous system, autonomic nervous system, the terminal will contain the muscarinic receptor 1 and 2. So remember, this is the gastrointestinal tract. Remember, and this is basically contain muscarinic receptor 1, 3 and 2. The saliva produced due to the muscarinic receptor bind with the acetylcholine to stimulate the salivation. It means the parasympathetic nervous system activation. The muscarinic receptor 5 is the predominant muscarinic acetylcholine receptor in dopaminergic neuron and the autonomic ganglion in the muscarinic receptor 1. The muscarinic receptor 1 is cognitive function increase, seizure activity increase, secretion increase. It means the muscarinic receptor are present in the salivary gland and autonomic ganglia, depolarization and dopamine release and locomotion. On the other hand, the muscarinic receptor 2 is the gastrointestinal tract containing this muscarinic receptor 2, and this basically the muscarinic receptor 2 is used for the smooth muscle contraction and increase and neural inhibition in periphery via autoreceptor and heteroreceptor, ganglionic transmission decrease and neuroinhibition in central nervous system, and the decrease of the heart rate and tremors, hypothermia and analgesia increase. Muscarinic receptor 3 is the bladder example is the major and will lead to increase the smooth muscle contraction, salivary gland secretion increase, food intake increase and body fat deposits increase, inhibit the dopamine release. The muscarinic receptor 3 is the bladder example is basically, I am again explaining about that. Basically, this is the gastrointestinal tract, muscarinic receptor 2. While the muscarinic receptor 3 is the bladder, is a major example. In this way, the smooth muscle contraction and the like detrusor muscle contraction of the bladder, salivary gland secretion, it means the salivary gland produce through a muscarinic receptor 3, food intake and body fat deposit and inhibit the dopamine release. The muscarinic receptor 4 is inhibit the autoreceptor and heteroreceptor mediated transmitter release in central nervous system. Analgesia, cataleptic activity and facilitate dopamine release. Facilitate dopamine release will occur in this way. The muscarinic receptor 4. Muscarinic receptor 5 is the receptor which that mediates the dilation of cerebral artery. In this way, the cerebral artery dilation, it means the blood flow will more in the brain, the nervous system. Facilitate dopamine release will lead to get the reward stimulation and reward response, drug seeking behavior and reward. Let's understand about the muscarinic receptor with the whole detail. So whenever the acetylcholine, basically the acetylcholine will be present in the form of vesicle, the neurotransmitter vesicle, which that release after the calcium intake will lead to depolarization of the terminal of the axon, terminal of the neuron, will release the acetylcholine and bind with the muscarinic receptor 3, and it will lead to again uptake through a muscarinic receptor 2. Remember, and this will lead to basically inhibit the binding of the acetylcholine with the muscarinic receptor 3. And in this way, the muscarinic receptor is the G couple protein receptor will trigger the PIP2 to the phospholipase C enzyme activation, will lead to IP3 production, and the diacylglycerol production will lead to activate the protein kinase C. In this, the IP3 will bind with the endoplasmic reticulum to outflux of the calcium. When outflux of the calcium will occur and the cytoplasmic calcium will increase, even the calcium channel will also open, will lead to influx of the calcium from the extracellular into the intracellular matrix of the cell. In this way, the calcium will be rise. The calcium rise is possibility to bind the calmodulin. That calmodulin is the protein will regulate the calcium, and in this way, the calcium will rise. The calmodulin will activate to bind with the calmodulin calcium. A complex formation will lead to myosin light chain kinase enzyme to activate the actin, and myosin bridge formation will lead to due to the ATP serving process will lead to activate and peristalsis of the gastrointestinal tract can be occurred, and the contraction of heartbeat can be slow and fast on the basis of requirement, and that is why it is the autonomic innervation. It means the parasympathetic innervation. Anyhow, this is the tropomyosin, troponin, actin, and myosin filament will bind. This is the myosin light chain. Myosin light chain kinase activated through calmodulin will lead to myosin, and actin will bind to the calcium bind with the troponin. Anyhow, on the other hand, this is the adenylate cyclase with the muscarinic receptor 2 and 4 will bind with acetylcholine neurotransmitter to trigger the adenylate cyclase to inhibit, basically will lead to cyclic AMP decrease. But SRC, SERC, and the PI3K pathway will lead to RAS, RAF, MEC, and ERK pathway of that protein activation and phosphorylation will lead to cytosolic substrate activate, as well as ERK will bind with the DNA in the nucleus. When going to the nucleus will lead to transcription and translation of that protein, which that is a very important. For example, myosin formation, troponin formation, actin formation. That is a lot of protein required for the muscle contraction, like smooth muscle contraction. Anyhow, this is the translation of that proteins, which that is very important for function. Muscarinic receptor 1 and 5 is very important. It is also G couple protein receptor and will also same mechanism to trigger the calcium move inside for contraction of muscle, same mechanism like the muscarinic receptor 3, and it is basically directly, and in this way. On the other hand, the muscarinic receptor 3 will be phospholipase C activation, but this is also the phospholipase activation, and in this way the same mechanism, remember, because protein kinase C also activate through a muscarinic receptor 3. In this way, the protein kinase C will activate the RAF to MEC and ERK, and same mechanism and the same cycle like ERK activation through protein kinase C from the muscarinic receptor 1 and 5. That is why the transcription will enhance by the muscarinic receptor 1 and 5. I hope you make sense about this. This is the muscarinic receptor we have discussed in this video. If you like my video, please make sure to subscribe, like, and share. See you in the next video. For this time, bye.